All right, welcome to tonight's class. We're going to just jump right in. First of all, talking about the EPHOD, I did notice that Glazerson 3 hours ago put out something on this very thing, the codes and how they're related to the EPHOD. But then also saw that, Paul, you had mentioned something about a layer of the EPHOD in one of the codes you're looking at. You want to,
Yeah, it's interesting to have a theme for the
yeah,
EPHOD. Remember last week we had kind of a Mark of the Beast theme,
that's
you and
exactly
I,
right. Yeah,
and we didn't really plan it. It just happened.
yeah.
So
All right, you should be
whenever
able
you're
to
ready,
share, bro.
okay, well, here we go. Okay.
All right, we can see that. What we got, what we're
Okay.
looking at.
Um, as everyone should know by now, I've been spending the last month and a half on this Erika Kirk code, just finding layer after layer after layer. And a few days ago, I decided to compile all the names that have been popping up into one layer. So, so all these people are in Erika Kirk's life, evidently. So I'm just gonna start it, and then if this if this layer doesn't excite anybody, my next layer should. So with that teaser, let me
All right,
begin
but
this layer.
while you're getting ready, let me explain to them with the layers and how
Ah, yeah.
this fact actually applies to every access term that is a person. You will find layers of people, places, and things that will overlap to other people's tables. So in other words, everybody is connected in this way. Especially people in your immediate circles, you're going to find all their names in your matrix, right? So he's looking at an access term that's sort of like a combination of a lock to unlock a matrix, but he is revealing all the layers that he is finding in this access term. So that's what he's doing. Just to be clear,
Okay.
because some people ask, what was your access term last time? It was the same access term, but we could find a lot of beasts stuff in there, right? So
Right.
there's
Right.
a layer of that in there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It
Okay.
seems to be that Erica Kirk, everything surrounding her seems to be ushering in the beast system, with the whole modern day Christians um, wanting to get into politics and combining church and state, which heads us straight into being an image of Rome from times past. And that didn't work out so well. And prophecy says that's going to come to pass again. So this table has a lot of those themes in it. Anyway, let me start at the top. We have Tucker. I did not find Carlson in this table. As hard as I tried, it just wouldn't come up. But I do have Tucker right here on the first line. The next name I have for you is Owens, as in Candace Owens. Um, and here we have Trump, TRMP, you could say in English. And we have Charlie in the white. And then in the green, we have Harpole, um, Charlie's head of security, Brian Harpole, is right there. So four names on that line. And the next line down is Dore, as in Jimmy Dore. He's been very interested in the whole Charlie Kirk assassination and goings on and the investigation. Okay, then we have Netanyahu here, but it's truncated. Um, Noon Tav, Noon Hey. And then we have it again here on the next line, Netanyahu. And there's Charlie right there in white. Next line down is Harpole again. And then Kirk. So Harpole is right between Charlie and Kirk. I'm trying to only do horizontal or vertical. I think a couple diagonals snuck in to my presentation. Next line down, something new. Um, Brigitte, as in Macron. Then we have in the brown, that's Tyler, as in Robinson, or Bowyer, um, from the whole saga. If you've been following it, you know Tyler Bauer. Um, we have Benjamin in the plain text, as in Benjamin Netanyahu. Next line, we have Macron, slightly truncated. And there's also military in the olive green here. I know military is not a person, but I snuck it in because it seems to be military people seems to be super big in this whole scenario. Then military again. Um, here's Brigitte again. Um, Mostly vertical, just ever so slightly off. But it runs through Macron and it runs through Emmanuel. So it runs through Emmanuel and Macron. We have Tyler again here. We have Rogan vertically here, Joe Rogan. Okay, we have Netanyahu running this way and then starting here and going this way. It's a palindrome of sorts, um, truncated this way and truncated this way. Over here we have in the purple and blue here, we have Tucker again, as in Carlson. We have Robert right here in purple, as in McCoy. I guess Robert is also the name of the Pope, his real first name. Um, Heading down here, there's Emmanuel in the green, as in Macron. We have Zinn, as in George Zinn, the guy that claimed to have shot Charlie, but everyone knows he didn't. Over here, we have Macron, full spelling, right here in the dark blue. Moving down, we have, let's see, we have Turek, as in Frank. Turek again, in the black and yellow. In the blue and white here, we have Vance, as in JD, and that runs straight through Kirk. This was a really huge find for me a couple days ago. Candace Owens is kind of going above Kash Patel's head right now because she needs someone to hear her. So she's going above to Tulsi Gabbard. And so Gimel, Bet, Resh, Dalit. And code searching, the statistics of code searching, these are sort of a rare combination. So I wasn't even sure if Gabbard would show up in the table at all, but it did one time at a skip of 5. That was pretty impressive. Like the creator of the codes put it here on purpose. Tulsi also appears one time kind of going through here. We have military right here. We have Tyler again in the brown. We have this special little cluster here, Mikey McCoy. He's huge in the story. He's now running Turning Point. I have demons in here. I threw that in because of the proximity to Charlie Kirk, the whole assassination story. One line down, this is Colvette, the the what's the word I'm looking for? The spokesperson for Turning Point. I found it in a abacus effect right here, Colvette, just appearing one time in the table. And this is McCoy. Moving on down, I have angels in this cream color. It just appears this one time encoded, angels. It appears in the plain text about 6 or 7 other times, but it's only encoded one time, and it's 6 characters. Okay, and then next line we have Hasatan in red, running right over our friend Patel, Cash Patel. We have the Pope right here. And the next line we have government. I know it's not a person, but it's people, and it's very intertwined in everything going on. We have Netanyahu right here, Macron on the next line. And in the pink here, we have Erika going across here, full spelling, and Kirk crossing her name. And then we have Rogan right here. I'm sure there's many other names that I haven't found yet. But that is that. I'm going to take you to the next part of my presentation. The power of the EPHOD, I called this. I decided to do the same thing with all the layers that I've been working the last month and a half. And a couple lines seemed extra special because they're just jam-packed with terms. So I call this line 3. Candace Owens line 3 is what I named this. EPHOD actually appears on the line just above it, right about here. So I'm going to just start rattling off a bunch of terms in here, and you'll kind of see how terms cluster together on scenarios, I guess. So let's start with Owens, this orange, that's Aleph, Vav, Noon, Sonic, that's Owens, as in Candace. Then we have in this olive green, Mission. Then over here, to search. And in pink, to expose. Corruption in black right here. And then the het. And then the tav. And then the tav. So what we have so far, Owen's mission to search, to expose corruption. We have accomplices in blue.
All in one line. That's all in one line.
Right? Okay. I remember months and months ago when I first started out code searching, I had Oprah Winfrey, and it actually came up in a skip of 1. And everything in that code was actually all on one line of Tanakh code. It was and I actually had to manipulate it to make an actual matrix. That was kind of interesting. I'm gonna grab a swig of water here.
No worries.
Okay, um, let's try and change themes here. So back to Owens again. Owens, I hate to get morbid, but in the green here is will be shot. Okay. Um, in the green here is to escape or will escape, running all the way over there. In the red here is to survive. It ends right here. So Owens to be shot, to escape, to survive. That's all pretty interesting. And I was worried about her family, so I looked in the plain text. Family or families appear 10 times in this. So let's hope her family is not involved in whatever may happen. As you've heard in the news, there's been a hit on her, so she's gone quiet on her podcast for a while.
You're
Well,
talking
things
about
Candace
um
Owens, the
yeah,
crone, yeah.
yeah, I heard the same thing.
Um,
Yeah.
so she hasn't been putting a podcast out for just over a week now.
Yep.
Um, and one thing that I found out from her podcast is the whole Charlie Kirk assassination that she's looking into. It's called Operation Valhalla. So, wouldn't you know, Vav, Lamed, Hey, Lamed, Hey, Valhalla.
Really, you got that all in one line. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
isn't that amazing?
Hmm.
So, evidently, that operation might get expanded.
So
I don't know.
I would go and look at that line there and see what chapter and verse that is.
It's in Numbers 26, 23. It's all kind of a genealogy of Jacob's sons.
Okay.
It's family, 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 the family of the family of the family of.
Right.
That's
And so
that's
this is why you see, and even with any name, you can find like it's like a resonance. It's like throwing a stone in a pond and you can see the ripples.
mhm,
All the people that you're connected to all through your life is you'll find in the radius of the axis term there. This, you're highlighting everything that's in one line, which is
mhm.
amazing. Yeah.
In fact, there was so much stuff, 25 terms. I had to do another layer that I'm going to pull up in a moment because it was getting too crazy. I couldn't keep track. Because one color was getting put on another, and it was getting hard to keep track of.
Right, I feel you.
Okay. Um, so let's see. Um, let's go with I do have computer in the blue, and let's see, mem het shin bet computer connected to intelligence, computer and intelligence. That's also on this line. Um, I am gonna go to the next the next part of this
Very
where
good.
it clears up for you a little bit. Let me show. I hope I didn't lose it somewhere. Okay, so it was getting a little too much for me, so I started another line here. So I transferred over Trump, and then there's Mashiach or Hamashiach. going over Trump. He is in Israel kind of a messiah figure. And then we have going in the other way, this way, Hamashiach this way. Um, but I have false, so like false messiah, and also counterfeit in the green here. So counterfeit or false messiah going all the way here to the Zion. And there's also anti. So you could say anti-Messiah or antichrist. Personally, I don't think he's the antichrist, but I believe he is ushering in the antichrist. Um, Everything that he does seems to be heading toward that direction. That's all I'm going to comment on that. A lot of people have conjectured if Trump might win the Nobel Peace Prize. So yesterday I looked to see if that was here.
Oh yeah, he's
And
pushing for that. That's one of his like things that he wants. Obama got one, and he doesn't like that, so
right,
he's got to
right.
have one. Yeah,
Well, here we go. We have shalom. That's peace.
I guarantee. And by the way, I'm making a prediction now. I guarantee you he gets it. He's got
Yeah.
enough push. He's going to get it.
So we got shalom, peace. We have prize in the blue. And I'm going to cheat a little bit, but here's Nobel. Okay, sitting right on top of Peace Prize. Okay, and then okay, so I think that's about it for this line three. What I'm going to do now is show you more of this amazing EPHOD in regards to Erika Kirk. About a month ago, I presented a couple layers that looked like she was also going to get assassinated. Um, I know, Jonathan, you don't like to use the codes to predict the future, but
Well, here's the thing. Here's the
I
thing. Listen, I'm very open because it is an ephod. Listen, there are things that can be seen before they happen. All right, but to use it actively like a crystal ball, I do not recommend. And I'm kind of been guilty with that with the last several elections. I have to confess. For
right.
many years, my objective was to show people that the future was contained there, and I kind of drifted on. But the last one kind of bit me in the butt because even though that it's the future is there, it's not written in stone because we have an X factor in the equation, and that is man's choice. Okay, so you can't predict when it comes to groups of people an election on how things are going to turn out because, as it were, there was some technology used with the AI to figure out, and Elon Musk did this to figure out the demographic that need to throw the election. That was unknown at the fact. There's also unknowns. So, though we may see that there's an attempt to steal this election, we may not see that God has a counter plan on that. If we don't see the whole picture and we see just a window of it, we cannot accurately predict. Does everybody understand what I'm saying? I
There
was
may be
looking at I was looking at a narrow window of the big picture. Okay. So it's like looking at a jigsaw puzzle that's only partially put together and you try to figure out what it is and you don't really know until the whole thing is there. It's sort of like that. And by the
there
way,
may be
my
possible multiple outcomes.
right. There can
Um,
be multiple outcomes on certain things. We can get a generalized area, and some things are a little more easier than others, by the way. When there's a 50-50 chance, we can pretty much we can do things like that. When things are more broad, and we're talking about a 1 in 1,000, you know, that's when it's more amazing when you can hit it dead on and you can get 1 out of 1,000. We try to do this with the election of the new pope. We're talking about 1 in 70. Okay. And in the first election, I'm talking about when um, Ratzinger came in, not Ratzinger, when he died. The other one that was the Jesuit. That's when we pinned the Pope would be a Jesuit, and there has never been a Jesuit. We didn't know his name, but we knew he would be a Jesuit. And the last Pope that died was in fact a Jesuit. So the codes were accurate, but we couldn't predict using that information. Everybody, you see that you
Yeah.
you can't actively use it like it's a crystal ball, and to think that you can is very foolish. It's more like an EPHOD. You can ask God a question, lead me to the answer. The
Mm.
Bible is very clear, you guys, when it says the hidden things of Yah is for the children of Yah. And what does he say to you? Knock and it shall be
Mm.
open to you. Seek and you shall find, right? The hidden things of Yah are for his children. So when you seek him, when you're actively seeking, he will reveal hidden things. And guess what it means? When he reveals something that's hidden, that actually is very accurate prophetically, it is so that we know that Yah is there and he's communicating with us. He's leading us in that sense. It's not for us to run with that and try to play like we're a prophet or something.
Right,
No,
right.
that's not what he's calling us to do when we're bringing these codes, you guys. He wants to bring revelation that only he can bring. And he will use the most broken of us. In other words, the people that do this kind of thing are not like scholars and theologians and all that kind of thing, right? He will use the babes to do these mathematical functions. And by the way, there have been mathematicians in history who believed that there were hidden codes in the Bible. Isaac Newton was one of them. Okay. He did not have access to computers and he was a genius. You do. You're a babe. You're not as smart as Isaac Newton. You have
Mhm.
access he does not have. Okay. So Yah has purposed us in this time to find the hidden things that he's revealing.
With all those caveats, Jonathan, I have to continue with
I'm
what
sorry,
I
I didn't
found.
mean to
With
rant there. I just,
oh, that's okay. It's
yeah,
okay.
I want you guys to get the impact of what this is and your, not just me, your role in this. And that's anybody that's searching codes. You are
Paul?
a vessel of the Most High to reveal these hidden things. Okay,
Hey,
please.
Yes, go
Paul.
ahead. Yes.
Yep.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I don't want to lose my concentration.
Uh-huh.
Did you say that in that code, did it say that Trump was going to get the Nobel Peace Prize?
I'm just saying it's on the same line as his name.
All right.
Um, it technically intertwines with Candace Owens's name too. Um, so you could go with that. But
Okay.
it just seems like Trump would be the more logical
Absolutely.
outcome. Okay.
And a way to
So
triangulate this, Paul, would be to look at Trump's table, his access term,
right, right. That's
and
what I was thinking.
look for that
Looking
same thing. And if you
right.
can find that there, you can probably bet the farm on it.
Okay.
That's going to happen. And so we're talking about predict. You have to use data points to make a judgment call. So we're not talking about the Holy Spirit's telling me this is going to happen, but you're using your noodle to look at data points and say,
Right,
oh, well, this is very highly probable.
right.
You understand?
See now,
So
a month ago when I was showing Erika Kirk, and I noticed there was about four witnesses in this table that seemed to say she was going to get assassinated. And now I just found another one, so I have to show it. I don't want to be morbid, people. I just want this to be a learning situation.
absolutely, yeah.
Um, so uh, maybe 5 days ago, I put in the term to be killed, and so let me do that for you.
So for Kirk,
Yeah.
I tell
So
you what, about
what?
this case right here, and I know a lot about tradecraft.
Yeah.
This looks like something that's textbook. It's called honeypot.
That goes across your name too. But this is what, okay, to be killed. Watch.
Mhm. Now, in many of these kill chain operations, and you'll have patsies, people that play a role, but they're expendable, and they will eliminate them just to make sure that they don't speak. Um, the assassination of JFK was a great example of that. The patsy that was there. So, different operations that you have, honeypot, or you have a patsy, or something like that. There's more than what meets the eye. Okay.
Mhm.
So there's layers, in other words, of what's going on, and some of it seems absurd or even cuckoo to even think such a thing, and that's what makes it perfect to execute when it's an operation.
Mhm.
And I'm talking
Hon-
about honeypots, all right?
honeypot does go right across
Look
here,
at that.
and
Look at
it
closest
does,
proximity, smallest skip.
and approximately right here, it's in a vertical. It's only 3 letters. I forget which 3 letters. I'd have to look
Yeah, yeah,
back,
yeah.
but in this general vicinity, 3 letters,
Hmm.
vertical, honeypot. Okay, so this is to be killed. So that would be looking into the future. So I thought to myself, well, let's say she gets killed and then we look it up again.
Because they will take out
And
the honeypot. The honeypot is not the central focus on this. It's the target. The honeypot is the operation, right? Mhm. So what if she is taken out, right? Accident, some kind, or maybe she's got a disease. She dies of cancer sometime, right? Or whatever. It's very possible. It's very plausible when it comes to a honeypot.
so
No witnesses.
if she does get killed and then we go back to the codes and say was killed, watch what happens. Isn't that so?
Oh my gosh, that is crazy. That's the
To be
same exact.
killed
So that's
and
the
was
honeypot
killed.
to be killed. That's what it says, the honeypot to be killed. And it's sharing a letter. That is not an accident, you guys.
This is was killed. So like in the future, if we so to be killed right here, and then was killed. So you could in the future go back and search was killed, and oh, I have to show you this. It come up another time right over here. Was killed, and what does it go along with? Right on Charlie's name. Okay,
Mm.
I've heard that before. Other people say,
Charlie was killed. Yeah. So that's my presentation, guys.
wow, Paul, that was excellent, excellent, excellent work.
And thank you, thank you.
I mean, there's a lot of layers in that. Hot topic too. That's
Right?
with the whole thing with somebody making threats is based on things that you report. That is kind of extreme, and so I kind of got the feeling of that early on with this whole thing that you gotta kind of
Yeah.
be
I
careful.
keep trying to get away from the Erika Kirk table, but it keeps sucking me back in. And it looks like next Sunday evening I'll be showing you another layer with all the new information that's been coming out. And it's quite interesting. So
Right.
I'll tease you with that.
So,
I can't.
you know, with this whole school, you guys, and by the way, that's amazing, amazing code searching there. Even it's a type of methodology when you're looking for layers and you have one access term that you're focusing on. So he's kind of expounding on that. Of course, there's thousands and thousands of things that are encoded, but he's been kind of highlighting here lately. the layers that you can find with any given access term, because things are kind of all related. Like I said, with a pond and you throw a stone in there. If you can imagine the matrix being many stones thrown at one time and all of those resonances kind of vibrate to each other, that's how we exist in the matrix. Every single one of you could be found in my matrix. Why? Because you're connected to me and people that are connected to you and so on in their matrices and so on. You'll find that there's this mesh that goes on for everybody that you're connected to. And if you look at the scriptures where those terms appear, you'll see themes. You'll see all kinds of concepts and things. Sometimes it won't make any sense, like with the whole line that he found a whole bunch of things in one line. It's a bunch of like a record of births, right? Genealogies and stuff. So many different names, right? Well, that just so happens where all those terms were found in that. Yah has purpose in that. Who can decipher it? Who can understand it? Some things make perfect sense. Like there's some tables, some matrices that when you look at it, just makes complete sense, especially the ones about the Messiah. Things about persons that are individuals, that could be subjective, but if you looked really objectively, you could probably see things that are just uncanny. There's no way that these things could be encoded like that with the actual text that is being encoded. Now, there are some out there who are just completely, I want to highlight this, and I'm not just picking on anybody, you guys, but this guy's been on my radar for a while. I monitor a lot of nonsense that I don't speak about for a lot of reasons. This guy's one of them. This was the guys that made death threats against me. All right. I'm pointing this out because I've started evaluating some of the codes that, and you never see them, by the way, on this site. You never see any of the codes. You have to go to the website and download, yada yada yada, do a lot of things to finally see some of the nonsense that this guy talks about. I'm highlighting this because of the importance of truth and being accurate and not manipulating things to make it say what you want it to say because you have an agenda and all this kind of crap. Now, this guy right here was a friend of mine years ago. He was all about codes. He was very fascinated with codes. And me and him had a falling out at some point. But then he got connected with another guy who does codes that I kind of shut down years ago when I started looking at some of his matrices, and I started seeing that it was gibberish, really. So, some things just didn't make any sense. And I gave him some constructive criticism. He didn't receive it well. He made threats, and the rest is history. Now they've teamed up. They both hate me. This guy's made videos about, Sean coming. Sean is the code searcher. This guy is the front man. You never see Sean's face. Sean never shows his codes. You have to go download his stuff and then look at it. And when you do, it's copy and paste. It's PDFs. It's not actually looking at a screenshot of a code matrix where you can see all the data. You can see where the scriptures are. No, it's stuff like this. And I'm hoping you can see this when I put it up. Nope, you're not. I'm going to have to hang tight. I want to show you this because this is what he posts, and you have to go and download. I'm not recommending you do this either. Hopefully, nope, it's blurring that. I'm gonna go. There you go. Let's see. You see how that's cut and paste? It's a PDF. and it's kind of pasted there, and it shows you some English words of, looks like a matrix and stuff, and then down below, down at the bottom, I'm sorry about that. Down at the bottom, it kind of shows you all the information, right? Sorry, you guys. I touched something and anyway, you have to download his stuff and go and look at it. And when I've done that, I was not impressed. And one thing that stood out to me, you guys, because there's a set number of Hebrew letters that are in the Bible, Old Testament and New Testament. Okay. I'm gonna have to scroll until I find this exact one that I want to show you because it's at a skip of 400,000. 400,000 and some change, which, if you know anything about the scriptures, New Testament and Old Testament, there's only 3 million letters. If you've got a 16 letter access term and you got a skip of 400,000, that means your matrix, the cylinder that you're looking at, is more than 7 million letters. Can anybody tell me why this is a problem? Does anybody know? Just right off your hand. Just right off your thoughts. I'm sorry. There's like 951 pages this guy has published that is about 980 pages of nonsense. Okay? Give me just a moment here. A lot of these codes are, 6 digits. So 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 letters per skip. Letter to letter to letter. Okay. I've always taught you smallest skip, closest proximity. So if you've got an access term that's 400,000 letters between letters, we got a major problem. First of all, what text are you looking at? Because all of the New Testament and the Old Testament, you should have 3,116,000 letters at the most. What are you doing looking at a cylinder matrix with 7 million letters? What's going on? Anybody know what's happening here? Can anybody tell me? There's actually something, and I think I know which code program that he's using, because there's only one code program that you can do this, and that is wrap a matrix. Michelle has it, and that is Code Finder. I'm sorry, you guys. I just kind of messed it up looking for this particular, just one I had picked out. It is more than 400,000 letters. Anyway, if you do the math on that, the letters were 16 letters for the access term. All right, so let's do the math on that. By the way, there are 304,805 letters in the Hebrew Tanakh. That's the Old Testament. 304,805. Now, based on, depending on what text you're looking at, and this can vary, between a handful, maybe 96 letters, depending on what you, between, the Masoretic, the Leningrad, the Syrian text. Okay. We're talking about like this right here is 304,900 words in the Masoretic. And that's the old Hebrew, Aramaic, and the New Testament, excuse me, not the New Testament, the old Aramaic Masoretic. 304,901 letters. Okay. Now, all of it together with the King James Bible, we're talking about 3,116,480 letters. Okay. And a variance of 96 letters, depending on if it's, the Masoretic or the Leningrad, which is what we're using in the code program with the TorahSoft. And we have three different ones we're using: TorahSoft, Keys to the Bible, and Code Finder. That's three different texts. Roughly the same, because some are different a little bit. Varying very marginally between the Leningrad, the Syriac, and a couple of others. The Masoretic is the most different, okay? But overall, we are talking of less than 4 million letters in all of the Bible, 3,116,480. If you've got a 16-letter matrix access term and you've got more than 436,000 letters between each one of those, times 16, that's more than 7 million letters. That means something is not right. Here's what's happening. In the Code Finder table, and I want to do a little experiment with Michelle because she's the one currently active with Code Finder and the Aramaic text. I want her to search. I'm going to give her a series of letters that I want her to search out that this guy claims is a matrix. Now, in this matrix, there's more than 400,000. I'm going to give it to you not tonight, but some other time, Michelle.
Okay.
Me and you'll get together and we'll look for it. I also want to do the same thing with Maggie. She's not here tonight, but she's got Keys to the Bible. And we're going to verify between the text that I have, the Leningrad, the text that you have, the Code Finder, and the text that she has, which is Keys to the Bible, three different ones. We're going to verify if this guy's codes are a real thing or just a bunch of crap. Because as you saw in the PDF, you guys, it's not a regular printout of a matrix. It's highly edited. It's snapshots of certain. He's edited it highly. So we don't know. We don't know because we can't see all the metadata in there of what he's looking at. I can tell you this: I cannot reproduce the codes that he puts out. And here's the thing about what we do. If I can't reproduce what Paul puts out in the Erika Kirk codes, guess what? It's bull crap. But because we have the same code program and we're working with the same text, I should be able to reproduce the same code that Paul did. Do you understand that? If you put out a table of an access term and I can't reproduce it, Michelle can't reproduce it, Maggie can't reproduce it, in the three known code programs that we have, different text, if they cannot be reproduced, that means it's fake. It's exactly what Brendan McKay did when he tried to debunk the rabbis with Gone with the Wind codes and Moby Dick codes. You can find codes in any book, right? Moby Dick codes. Guess what? The rabbis used the same Moby Dick code and could not reproduce what Brendan McKay said. Because why? Because he made it up. He cut and paste. He made it up. It's not science. This is science, you guys. Mathematically precise. If I'm using the same text as Paul, I can produce the same code. Does that make sense? And by the way, the Leningrad text that we are using is not 7 million letters. It's 3,116,000. That's New Testament, Old Testament in these. No matter what variation you use, the only difference in some of them, like between the Syrian and the Leningrad, is going to be the order of the books. But still, you got the same exact letters. Everybody understand that? What does this mean that he's doing? In Code Finder, you can do something called wrapped matrices, where you take the whole of the text and then you use it again. So you butt it together. So Genesis to Revelation and then Genesis to Revelation again, which means this is how he comes up with 7 million letters. He wrapped the text. This is not accepted in code searching. It is not an accurate way of searching codes. Shortest skip, closest proximity. If between letter and letter is 400,000, or even if it's 100,000, you're probably not hitting something that's actually relevant. It's beyond that. You understand? It's random. It doesn't matter that we can get 16 letters that line up that says a phrase. When you're working with 7 million letters, you could write anything. Does everybody understand that? We're talking about shortest skip, closest proximity. This is why Yeshua is my name encoded in Isaiah 53 in one chapter at a skip of 20 is astronomically more valuable than looking at a code that is at a skip of 400,000, whatever. It's more than almost 500,000 between letters. It's not relevant, folks. It's not. We're teetering in the place, and I get that liberally. I would not recommend producing a code that's more than 50,000 between letters. Sometimes a little more than that. Okay. End of the days, we can find it 89,000 in there. Does it mean it's not relevant? No, I think it's still relevant. It's in the realm of that. But the more you go up, 400,000, 500,000, 800,000, what are you doing? There's no way that this code between letters, and you've got almost 500,000 or even more than 500,000 between letters, is relevant. It's in the realm of randomness, you guys. And so this is something that we got to make clear and have a high standard when it comes to code searching, and why we got to do this school.
Jonathan, I have a question.
Yes, absolutely.
So then it's not a common practice or an accepted practice to, in a single search, have the search repeat the scriptures over and over and over again so that you're basically lining the text to repeat.
Right, exactly. That's what it means having a wrapped text. And to my knowledge, the only code program that does that is Code Finder. You can actually wrap the text and run it again to get longer matrices. Now, this is not accepted I don't know of any code searcher that accepts this as acceptable. The code that I was just trying to find, the beginning of it was in like Job. You know where the end of it was? Genesis. So that tells me he was using a wrapped matrix to go from Job to Genesis.
Well, I think overall, not just on against this gentleman's procedure or the findings that he's claiming, as skeptics, I think that's a good thing to point out is that this searching is not set on infinite repeat until you get the result that you want.
That's a great point, Jeremy. You don't set the parameters of it until you get the what you are looking for. That you're opening yourself up to a huge margin of error. Does that make sense? That's what happens when you do that. You listen, if I take Gone with the Wind and I butt it back to back to back to back. I could probably find anything in that as a matrix, as a code, right? A random set of letters that come together that seem to make a mathematically impossible matrix that seems to be relevant. Does everybody understand what I'm saying? If you have enough letters, you could stretch a matrix out till you could literally say anything that you want to. The methodology for code searching is smallest skip, closest proximity. We're looking at a little area. Everybody understand? That's what makes it statistically valid. If we look at a matrix that seems to be predictive, that's 105,805 in letters, between letters. It's not impressive, folks. And I would not recommend trying to make a predictive analysis out of a code such as that. Does that make sense? So in this methodology, when we're searching codes, we want to have the smallest skip, closest proximity. Closest proximity, like Erika Kirk and all the terms that he found that were in one line. And I love the way he did that. He highlighted just one line of all these terms. That's statistically not normal. Okay? It's not. We'll do that another time, Michelle. I'll give you a sequence of letters that I want you to look up. I suspect that he's using a wrap matrix because when you do the math on 16 letters that was in this access term and the skip that was there, when you do the math on there, it was more than 7 million letters. That means he absolutely had to wrap the text to get that matrix. Okay, and it wasn't very impressive either. Okay, I would be impressed if there were 16 letters in one chapter of a Bible. That's what impresses me. It is. It's we're talking about mathematics here, you guys. Probability, statistics. I hope you guys understand that. This is not just religion and, shell game and, this is like some kind of parlor trick. This is actually mathematics and science. Okay, some of the things that we look at in these texts are impossible to be hidden there. It has to be a divine hand that put it there. For instance, if we just highlight all the codes just about the Messiah, statistically, it is impossible for these codes to exist without there being a divine. This is why Isaac Newton and people with mathematical minds like this were thinking about hidden codes in the book of Daniel and Revelation in the freaking 16 and 1700s. This is why. Okay, you have an advantage. We have access to computers where we can do the calculations in fractions of seconds, where these men would have to take years potentially to count these codes out by hand. First of all, they had to learn Hebrew, and they didn't have the internet. They couldn't just say, hey, how do you spell this word in Hebrew? No, they had to go learn the Hebrew dictionary, right? Before they could learn the Hebrew Bible. It was a lot of effort for Isaac Newton to search codes. I'm trying to bring this home to you with the, video I showed you guys of the forerunners that I studied under: Grant Jeffries, Chuck Missler, Ramsel, all of these guys that I studied under who are long gone now. We're all that's left. Okay. And so it's up to us to carry this into the future and to continue to search these codes. Some of these people, like, Ramsel didn't have a computer. That guy was doing the same thing that Isaac Newton was doing. He was counting by hand, you guys. And he found amazing codes and established something that we recognize today, which is, I deem it, Ramsel method, is when you finding in chapter and verses the answer to the verse. Who is the one that's being spoken of in Isaiah 53? That's clearly Yeshua is my name, and everything about the crucifixion is encoded there. Well, you can also go to Leviticus talking about the sacrificial lamb and find that Yeshua is the gift encoded in places there. So there's overwhelming evidence that encoded in the text is the answer. Does everybody follow me? It's not just the future. That's amazing too, but it's also the answer to all of the context of the Bible, you know. And I think it makes sense because if you look at it today, we got 40,000 Protestant denominations who all disagree on every single chapter and verse of the Bible, and we got like 30,000 verses in the whole of the Bible. They disagree on every single one. The Bible has to be able to reconcile itself, I believe, and I think that's the key to what the codes are. Now, within that, and the majesty and the greatness of the Father, I believe, yes, the future is also encoded. But it's not just laying there on the surface like some kind of shining diamond in a desert where you just walk along the surface and you just walk over there and pick it up. You got to dig for it. You got to search. You got to kind of dig around and look for it, right? That's what the codes are. Any questions? I don't mean to get off in a rant tonight, but you know, some things just get under my skin with some of the nonsense that I see, and people trying to use this to deceive others. Thankfully, this guy hasn't got any traction. Nobody's really following what he's doing. Anybody that has any kind of common sense and knows about searching codes can look at it and go, not really impressive, right? But there are people who don't know any better that look at that and go, oh my God. And especially if you got videos telling people that your mother is the Virgin Mary and you are the Messiah, then you got some other nutcase that's going to proclaim you as the, it's bizarre to me. It tells me that people are just not well in the head. They have no grasp of what the Bible is and what it says. It's dangerous. It's very dangerous for somebody to just come along with the technology that's available and just pick up this and just start doing their own thing, right? That's why it's important that somebody comes along with some kind of standards and teaches, you know, some kind of methodology. And I'm not claiming to be the know-it-all of everything. I'm not. But I'm concerned about the other mess because I think there's something here in the revelation of the Bible and who Yah is, who the Messiah is. There's secrets here that are just not for everybody, right? And when somebody comes along that just shouldn't be there and they're trying to flex themselves in this, it doesn't spark any kind of jealousy in me. It sparks a little bit of animosity and concern because of the influence of what it can do to someone if it's not wielded properly. Does that make sense? You're right, Marty. Those who add or take away from his word, right? I've tried to hold to methodology that is very strict only to the Bible, especially when it comes to things like the feasts and the you know, the calendar and things like that. The Bible is the barometer. It's the bearing that I don't go off into other books. I can actually search the Bible. I can find codes in the book of Isaiah at a very small skip that we're supposed to be following the moon and the sun to determine the calendar. It's very clear. There's a long access term in a chapter of Isaiah that says the moon determines the Moedim. To me, at a skip of 240 something, it's slipping me right now. I could actually go look at that if you need to know the exact skip. The moon determines the Moedim. That's a confirmation of Psalm 104:19. Psalm 104:19 says the same thing. The moon determines the Moedim. And then we have it encoded in Isaiah, a prophet of the Most High, that's confirming that. That's a Bible code. That's not Jonathan just making something up and looking through wrapped matrices until I find what I want to find. Does that make sense? Smallest skip, closest proximity. We're talking about one chapter of the Bible in Isaiah. That's a code. 246. 400 and something thousand, 600 and something. No, that's not a code. That's random occurrence, and you're bending and you're shaping things to deceive people when you do that. Does everybody understand? You guys, I do a lot of work during the week that is not paid money, different things, you know, even working with bees and working honey. You're only going to make money at a certain time, at harvest time, right? So all the effort you put in, you don't get up anything out of that. And what I find here in my life here lately is I put a lot of work into something and I don't get a return on that. And that's okay because later I think there'll be harvest. But when it comes to this school, and I've got a handful of students that are paying here, and by the way, I'm thankful for each and every one of you because you enable me to eat every month. Okay. It's not like it used to be where I was able to help people. Yah was prospering me. It's no question I've been in one of the most trying seasons of my life. And so I want to just take the time to thank you guys who have remained with me and helped in this and have patience. The work that myself and James is doing is not going to happen overnight. Okay. It takes a lot of man hours. Some of the curriculum that I'm coming up for you guys for the school takes time to put together. Everything that he's doing takes time to put together, right? And it doesn't always happen. Listen, the ambition I think was great. So there's been a little level of discouragement that comes along because I think I've bitten off more than I chew. But I am committed to getting this done because I want this site to be a hub for people that can come and get and use the code programs at will. One of the things I want to do with this is, other than just creating a new code software, is I also want to preserve some of the ones that we have. Torosol, Keys to the Bible, and Code Finder, we're going to put on the website. I've been talking about this with James. Because here's what's going to happen when we go from Windows 10 to Windows 11. A lot of these code programs are not going to work anymore. Okay. And so we have to find a way to preserve these code programs to run as old software. And so my goal is to get that together on the website to where you can come to the site and run each one of them as a virtual machine and still search codes. Does everybody understand what I'm saying? So there's things that are happening, but not only are we trying to develop new software, we're trying to preserve what we got because I bit off a lot to developing new software. It's not as easy as I thought it was, right? There's some things that we got to work out on that, especially doing it with so many different languages, a lot to it, okay? And I can't go into explaining that to you. So it became very apparent to me that we have to preserve what we have as well. And so that's why it's become important to do that. So in other words, you don't have to upgrade your computer or do any kind of partition or anything like that. When we got it on the website, you'll be able to come to the site, have a profile that you can work under and work those programs, each one of them. All right. Save your work, all that kind of stuff. It'll all be accessible there. So that's one of the things that we're trying to work on. So you guys keep me in prayer. Again, there's a lot of effort and very little return at the time. So discouragement is a very real thing when it comes to me. And I fight that every day, you guys. But I'm a United States Marine and was trained that way. And so I'm very determined and disciplined. And so I will bury my nose and bulldog through whatever I got to accomplish something. But I got to tell you, it's been taxing. It's been hard to survive, especially this time of the year. When we get around Christmas and stuff like that, it gets really financially difficult for us to make it. And then you got spiritual warfare on top of that. People getting sick, like what I'm dealing with right now. So the discouragement is there at all times when this happens. There are better times than others. It's not always like this. But this time of the year, you guys keep me in prayer. We're trying to accomplish a lot. Like I said, the ambition is great. And there are times where I get kind of discouraged and feel like I've bitten off more than I can chew. But I'm not going to accept that as my fate. I'm going to power through this and make sure that we are leading the way when it comes to searching codes and establishing a higher standard when it comes to code searching instead of what I'm having to audit and deal with some of these guys that are just discrediting and bringing dishonor to the Bible and some of the things that I see like that. Okay. And by the way, I I actually I love to see other people thrive doing codes. And Kelly, Paul, my friend Rico from Norway. I can name a dozen people that have been under my wing that I've taught this, that it brings me more pleasure to see the fruit of their works than it is to promote myself, if that makes any sense. It's like a sense of gratification to see other people with gifts bringing these codes forward. I can't carry this all on my back, you guys. It's not, my job to bring this whole thing. I believe that I was supposed to teach other people to do this, and other people have gifts. I can see that, and I love seeing it manifest. It gives me gratification doing that. And so I have to confess that. It's not an arrogant thing, it's not a pride thing or anything like that. I'm not patting myself on the back, but it's just a blessing to see other people that can bring codes that are tremendous, you know, you name it, Bible code research theory. It's one of the first people I started talking before I even started a school. I'm showing Chris Ray how to do codes. Okay. Martin, you guys love brother Martin. Where you think he started doing this at, right? I love seeing those guys work and producing codes, and it's a blessing for me. So that is my goal for you, every single one of you, to get you working codes. We've had issues this past year. I realize that with the downloads, it's been hard for all of these code programs are outdated. To get them to download has been a huge obstacle. So if we can get it on my website to where you can come to the site and just kind of sign in and choose which one you could work it with a virtual machine, that's my goal for you. And you don't have to worry about downloads, right? You just need to be able to follow some instructions. Do A, B, and C, and D, and learn the different functions. The Holy Spirit brings the rest of it, folks. That's that's the joy that I get out of this, is seeing the Holy Spirit work in other people doing this. So yeah, Sister Ann Kelly, one of my first graduates, and she wrote a book. She's done very well. And I am overly thrilled and just blessed to see what she does. And she just won. There's more than a dozen now, you guys. So that is the payoff for me in this whole thing, is to see you guys thrive and you do great things. Okay, so this is not about Paul's doing codes over here to make CodeSearcher look good. No, that's not it. I love that Paul shines, or any of you shine. There's times where Leanna puts out some really good stuff. I love seeing that. And now we got Michelle, who's got CodeFinder now, and she can start searching codes. Yah's going to move through her, and we're going to see amazing things. Okay. And so I kind of thrive on seeing that. I'm just letting you know. So it behooves me to encourage you, to teach you, to give you the resources to do this. And then I stand back and watch you fly like a little eagle leaving the nest. There's no greater, I can tell you, there's no greater joy than to see somebody that you have nurtured leave the nest and go soar and do great things. Okay. And I'm telling you that with 100% honesty. Yes, Leanna.
Oh, I just wanted to say that what I used to love all the time was watching your face when your students were presenting codes, because I could see the joy all over your face. And I knew that it was your mission to be a teacher.
Yeah.
And I really, really appreciate you. And I want to apologize. I have not been able to do anything since I broke my arm. I
You're
can't hardly
fine.
type. Now I can think a little bit, and I'm not
You're
getting.
good. Yeah, you're
But
good.
no,
Sister, you
I
you broke your arm, so don't worry.
yeah.
But you're absolutely right. There's nothing gives me more joy. And here's what I equate it to. It's like having a child, a little boy, a little girl, and they're learning how to ride a bicycle, and you're teaching them how to ride a bicycle, and you're helping them, and then you kind of push them off, and then they start pedaling, and next thing you know, they're riding that bicycle, and they're like 3 years old. There's nothing more exciting than seeing something like that. That's how it is for me with the codes and teaching other people to do. So you're absolutely right. It brings a lot of joy to me, and that's why I like doing this. And so that's why we're working hard, you guys, to build this website and to make it available for you like no other. I don't have Cash App, no, but I got a link for PayPal. This is a very hard time for me and mine to get through every year, December, November, December, and it's because of Christmas and all that kind of stuff, you guys. Um, I genuinely have one strong person who donates, and quite frankly, has carried more than they should ever have to carry. And then I got two more that have been pretty regular the past 6 months that have basically fed me. Otherwise, it's been what we've generated from the school that I've been able to take care of myself and two other people. I also, if you guys don't know, I take care of an elderly woman that's 92 years old. And I don't get any kind of return on taking care of her. I go and sit at bingo, once a week when she's able. I take her to the doctor. I grocery shop for her, and I don't get anything from her. It is 100% love and a servant's heart. And if that's something you don't know, I do have a servant's heart, folks. I'm guilty of that. And I genuinely look for people to help. And they just kind of fall into my lap. Sometimes they're elderly people, sometimes they're widows, sometimes it's a family in Poland that I have never met in my life, and God puts it on my heart to look after them. And so when I have it, when I'm able, I do. And this is not me trying to pat myself on the back or me trying to get into heaven or anything like that. It's just something I feel compelled in my spirit to do because that's the way Yah made me. Okay. So I've always been like that, by the way. And so was my grandfather, and so was my mother. My mother is also the same way. Give the shirt off her back to anybody, and would never stab someone in the back or betray anybody. I'm the same way, by the way. And by the way, those kind of people are usually the ones that are betrayed and taken advantage of. And I've had to endure that a lot in the time that I've been on the threshing floor. Many of you know that've been with me. You know what I'm talking about. I have the kind of personality where people take advantage of me, and I get done wrong and smeared and slandered. By the way, I'm going to emerge from that a victor. 3.5 years I've been in this crap, and Yah's going to deliver me out of that very soon. Okay. It's the threshing floor. I've been preaching about it for freaking 5 years about the threshing floor. I just never knew that I would be the one on the threshing floor as the example to everybody. I never calculated that, by the way. But it makes sense to me. I am not the only one. I have people and friends that are going through some stuff too. They have lost family members, deaths, addictions, all kinds of things or stuff that happens that Yah wants to thresh, right? I'm just looking at your text here, Michelle. That's one thing I'm dealing with right now. She just texted, try not to hold on to bitterness. This is one of the greatest obstacles I've had to deal with currently, folks, is bitterness. I will confess to you. It is very hard for me to forgive what has happened, and I struggle with that every day. All right. But I'm committed to forgive. I don't want to have bitterness. It is a heavy burden to carry. All right. And I've had to freaking pull the knife out of my back and E2 Brute, right? And look my enemies in their face if they stab me in the back and say, you too. Yeah. It's not fun, you guys. It's not, but it is part of my journey. You may have to have that happen to you as well. I hope it not into the extreme I've had to deal with. But it's a real thing, and I do struggle with that. So yeah, Michelle, I'm struggling with that now. I admit it. It's hard. It's hard. There's a ministry in Arizona that did me wrong and slandered me, but then also the person in there in Hawaii that stole everything from me and then destroyed my reputation. I have a hard time with it, and I'm struggling with it, and I pray about it every single day. I have my mother praying for me about it. It's part of my journey. And so if you've ever had to go through something like that, then you know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, I pray you never go through it, because it is not the funnest thing in the world. I promise you. It hinders you when you hold on to bitterness. It hinders you from blessing, and I know that. I recognize that. But what do you do when you're holding on to that bitterness? It's almost like you can't let it go. You try to, and then you come back the next day and it's still there. It's the weirdest thing, you guys. Very weird. It does. It steals and locks your joy. You're absolutely right. Yeah. Um, I think this is one of the concepts of the Bible that's most important. Is bitterness is a hard one to deal with, and it can come in any different way. Bitterness for any. You may have a parent that might have did you wrong and hurt you and did things to you. You might carry bitterness for that, or a distant relative, an in-law that did something. You just can't let go. As much as you pray for it, you find yourself, you can't just let it go. And it seems like it's a thing that just never lets up. It's I don't know. You can find my PayPal link at any one of my videos. Any one of my videos, there's going to be a link there. CodeSearcher at PayPal dot whatever. Yeah. I appreciate that, Marty. Anything helps us, especially right. Like I said, this is December 1st. People are spending money on Christmas and stuff like that, and they don't remember ministries like this. Yeah. Anyway, that's what I got for you guys tonight. I hope I didn't ramble too much. Michelle, I'll get with you. I want to check the text and check the sequence of letters from some of these codes that I'm reviewing from this knucklehead, and check and see if it's in that text. And then I would like to also get with Margie and check the code finder text to verify some of these codes. Some of them are, I recognize them as codes from Glazerson, but there's some that just seems too. It just seems random. It doesn't seem like a solid code to me. And that's an issue, um, especially when you're building a ministry where you're teaching people that you're the Messiah. By the way, I didn't tell you this, but the guy that I've been talking about tonight, he thinks he's Moses of the two witnesses. He thinks the two witnesses are Moses and Elijah, and he's Moses. So we're talking about like some.
So is he still threatening you guys?
Not lately. Not lately. There's been like 3 times where I've been threatened by this guy. I don't take it seriously. I'm not at any point afraid. But you know what? There are crazy people out there.
It's dangerous. It's psychosis that people get pushed, if they don't repent, they get worse and worse. So I'm just saying, Just stay in
Anybody, yeah,
prayer,
well,
you
not
know,
just
and
for
we'll
code searching.
pray for you.
Anybody can get when you got a religious spirit, you can have
Oh
some
yeah, no, I'm not
bad
just
things
meaning
happen, and
Bible code students. I'm just saying
even
in
people will
general, if
commit
you're walking
murder
in
and
darkness,
say, God told me to do it. And by the way, that was one of his threats,
right?
that God had told him to come to
Oh,
Hawaii and killed me and all this other kind of stuff. It's nonsense, and it's a lot of psychological issues here, demonic issues. So spiritual warfare. It's no joke, you guys, when we're doing this kind of thing, especially if you're publishing codes, somebody comes against a demon comes against you, you may have to encounter that kind of stuff. So
Yeah,
just
underlying spirit.
yeah, that's exactly right. They just the demon cannot handle it, and it will make threats. The person may not even really calculate and understand what they are saying. I've seen some really bizarre stuff, you guys. A lot of it I don't even say or tell anybody anything. I just let it go, or I tell my immediately. I have I have a Sabbath group that I'm accountable to. Rabbi Jacob. Some of you know Rabbi Jacob. This is some of my counsel. Scott, McCrum over there. There's several brothers that I have. Peter Lewis that I have access to that are wise counsel. Right. The Bible says there's wisdom in a multitude of counsel. So I try to surround myself with people that are positive and Bible fearing and Yah fearing, and keeping the commandments, and they're people that I can lean to for prayer and for encouragement and for advice. You know, so I'm just not out here doing this on my own. No matter what you guys don't see, and there's a couple of you here, Marty and Leanna, has been coming to the Sabbath, and so you see my other group that I'm a part of over there, um, and so yeah, I need people to lean on as well, you guys, people that I can go to and kind of blah, kind of spill out everything. I can only do that so much on YouTube, and especially with you guys, I can't dump on you because you guys are looking up to me and for counsel and for leadership, and so I can't dump on you as much. But I do need people that I can do that with, and that's my counsel. Thank you, Vicky. Don't stress yourself, sister. I appreciate and love you, and I feel happy for you that y'all has sent somebody for you, and that you got somebody to walk with and do this journey. That's been blessing my heart to see that. So anyway, let me